Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some I Know the Owner stories.
The first story is called, How Do You Know Me? This happened way back when I worked at a pizza place. We did takeaway and delivery, and there were a few seats where customers could sit while they waited for their orders but not to eat there. On this particular day, the owner John and I were working in the store. My usual co-worker had called in sick, so John was filling in. Halfway through the day, a Karen walked in. At first, everything was just peachy. Karen asked for a takeaway, gave her order, paid, and I made it. When the pizza was cooked, Karen sat down and opened the box, obviously intending to eat it there. Now, John didn't allow customers to eat in the shop because we were not a restaurant and staff had a dozen things to do, which didn't include clearing up messes left by customers. I was making an order for delivery, so John went up to Karen. I was all ears, as you can imagine. John said, "Sorry, you can't eat here." Karen said, "How dare you? I know the owner personally and he said I could eat here if I wanted." So John asked, "Really? How do you know me?" Karen went red, closed the box, and left without saying a word. And John and I cracked up with laughter. The next story is called, You Can't Be Sure That I Don't Know the Boss. My husband and I are the owners of a small gas station. Monday to Friday, he works the morning shift on the register from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. and does the management stuff after that until around 1 p.m. I work the evening shift till closing time from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. We do not say to people that we are the owner. They don't believe us anyway since we are too young, with 22 and 24. Nothing screams owner or managers on us. We are basically dressed like our employees, just with a different name tag with only our names on it. The interaction was in French, so keep in mind that when there's the word boss, it's the male boss, so my husband. In the story, the customer didn't put gas in the car yet. He looked drunk but wasn't the one driving. I never saw him before. I greeted him and he asked, "If I give you my license, can I come in to pay for the gas later?" I explained to him that, "I'm sorry, but I cannot do that." And then he tells me, "The other guy does it." So I asked him, "Who's the other guy?" And he said, "The boss." I was laughing inside and asked, "Okay, what's his name?" He starts to think about it but then says, "I don't know his name." So I ask, "Okay, when does he work?" I wanted to play along so I can laugh even more. The customer thinks again and told me, "Thursday evening I think." So I tell him, "I'm sorry, but I'm working the Thursday evening shift, so I don't think that you really know the boss." He starts to exit and says, "The thing is that, you don't know if I know him or not." With a smile, I told him, "Believe me, I do." The guy exited the store. I called my husband to tell him and we were both laughing. It was the first time in 2 years that someone tried the "I know the boss" line. Rest assured that if someone tries it again with one of my employees, they know they can call us. The third story is called, I'm the Daughter of the Owner. This happened a few years ago now, but my first job was working as a cashier at a restaurant owned by my grandmother, H. The restaurant was located just outside of a small town that was a little sketchy. So we'd often have people come in and demand discounts because they knew H in high school, or whatever variation they could think of for that. One day around the holidays we had a woman come and order a large take-home holiday dinner. The way these worked was that we packaged and prepared all the food, all they had to do was preheat their ovens and throw it in. Simple holiday dinner without any hassle. The only downside to this is people expected these meals to cost the same as our normal family meals. Holiday meals were around $100 and $175 while family meals were anywhere from $50 to $70, depending on size. Here's the following exchange that happened the day before Christmas. The customer said, "Hello, I'd like to order a holiday meal pack." And I said, "Great, we already have plenty pre-packaged and ready to go. Which size were you looking for today?" The customer said, "Probably the largest one. My family is very large and they're all coming over tomorrow." So I said, "Wonderful. So, a full-size family holiday meal pack is going to come out to about $175 with tax." The woman makes a shocked face and tells me, "But that's so expensive. It says it's only $70 on the menu." So I explain, "Actually ma'am, that's only the price for the standard family meal. That is our regular meal without any holiday specials. So no dessert, standard choice sides, and only feeds about 5 to 7 people. The holiday meal feeds 10 to 12 and is specially made for the holidays." She gets angry and said, "Well, that's ridiculous. Do you know who I am?" I told her, "No ma'am, I'm afraid I don't." She said, "I'm H's daughter. What is your name? I'm going to tell her you're upcharging people." So I explained to her, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way ma'am, but our prices for the holiday packs are listed there and they're on the menu." As for your relation to H, I know you're not her daughter and I cannot lower the price of the holiday pack at all. She didn't like that her lie didn't work and said, how dare you call me a liar? I'm going to have you fired. What's your name? So I explained to her that I'm H's granddaughter. The woman then stormed out of the restaurant without ordering. The funny thing is she did actually try to call to complain about me, but my manager saw the entire event unfold. I hated the job so much, I'm so glad I was able to leave that job not that long after this had happened. The next story is called, You Should Know Who I Am. Back around 2002, my dad and a friend of his started a company. They put it in the grueling and overwhelming amount of work necessary for it to have grown exponentially over the last 20 years. A couple of years ago, they had an opening for a technical editor and my dad offered me the position. I would just like to say that I am so unbelievably grateful for this and I always will be, and I'm very mindful of the fact that I have to tread lightly sometimes. Every year during the holiday season they, like most businesses, throw a holiday party. They have several around the country so every office has one, but the main one is where corporate is headquartered. The first year I attended the party, nobody knew who I was. I tend not to share who I'm related to, for obvious reasons, unless somebody asks. It's not a secret by any means, but it's not something I shout from the rooftops. Anyways, the bar opened an hour before the party technically started and, since it's an open bar, a few people were already quite a few drinks in. I went up to get a drink and somebody who I've never met introduced himself to me in a pretty rude and arrogant way. I'm talking, you probably already know who I am, but if you don't, you should. I'm Holden. He was clearly pretty drunk, but it's a party and I didn't blame him. I shook his hand and tried to walk away, but he wouldn't stop talking about how important he was to the company. I smiled and nodded for quite a while, even as he spilled his drinks on me from gesturing wildly. Eventually, he told me, I'm also really close with the president. This interested me quite a bit because that was my dad and I had literally never heard this person's name. Not a problem though because I didn't know all his friends. But this dude kept going and here's how that conversation went. He said, you could pretty much call us family friends. So I asked, really? You know his family? And he said, of course. We've all gotten together a few times, his kids love me. So I said, wow, that's pretty cool. I wasn't planning on saying anything because he was drunk and it didn't really matter to me. However, he then turns around and says, okay, well I have more interesting people to talk to now. And with that, he walked away. I was livid. First of all, he spilled his dirty martinis all over me so I smelled like olives. He was kind of a jerk from the get-go. He wasted 30 minutes bragging about himself, and then he tells me I'm uninteresting? So, I waited until the perfect moment when the party had started to taper off a bit. Our homebody Holden was still there, even drunker than he was before. He eventually made his way over to my dad and mum, chatting them up and whatnot. I sidle over to the group and he gives me a stink eye, probably thinking I'm trying to cozy up to them too. The look of horror on his face when my dad hugs and kisses me on the cheek was indescribable. And then he said, your brother is coming to pick us up, do you need a ride? His face was a combination of, I think I just crapped my pants, and I'm going to yeet myself out this window immediately. It was genuinely one of the best small acts of revenge of my life. In case anybody wonders, him and I laugh about the incident now and it's not a big deal. The last story is called, He Really Cleaned Up. I work in a hotel and have done so at this hotel for about 3 years. It's been owned by the same guy for as long as I have worked here, and he owned it for about a year and a half before I started. He's a second-gen American, and his parents are from India. They have a very common Indian last name. Yesterday, as I was leaving, 2 men came to check in. Only one was staying, but the other was paying for his room for him. I was getting ready to leave, so my co-worker handled them, but I caught the whole exchange. This morning the man staying called down to the desk saying he was having issues making outgoing calls using the phone in the room. I checked the phone system, making sure that calling out of the hotel was available. I instructed him on how to make outgoing calls and hung up. A little while later, he called down again, asking for a late checkout, and made no further mentions of issues with the phone, so I thought that was that. Then about half an hour or so later, I got a call from a woman with a foreign accent I couldn't place. She gave the name of the man who paid for the room and the name of the person in the room and started asking questions about the rate paid. I told her the rate for last night, and she immediately tells me it's a rip-off and that the rewards rate would have been better. I tell her the rewards rate can only be received if you book via the reward program. She interrupts me halfway through with yes, 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 and carries on asking about the rewards rate. I am not able to look up what the pre-tax rate is, but I know the after-tax total offhand from charging it so many times and give her that. She asks about what the price would be if it was booked using points, and again that's not something I would be able to look up. She asks if the guest would be able to book with points since sometimes it is not available. Again, not something I can look up, she'd have to contact the people from the rewards program. It's up to the owner whether or not to make that available, and it's all in a program I don't have access to. So, after interrupting me, she starts going on about how she knows the owner. About how he went back to India. I tell her no, the owner is not from India. She insists he is, and how she knows his daughter who graduated from a local college, and she was her mentor. When I could finally get a word in edgewise, I told her no, he's not from India, he is from New Jersey. She must be thinking of the old owner who has not owned the property for at least 5 years. We argued a bit before I finally told her that the owner is an American man in his 30s, definitely not an Indian one with adult children. She asks for the owner's name, I give it. Remember how he has a common name? The old owner had the same last name. So obviously they must be related, the same way all Smiths and Joneses and Browns are. She gets excited and says yes, his son. I interrupt her this time and tell her it is just a common name, they are not related. Eventually, she accepted this and started asking about the property. At some point, she also mentioned being the sister-in-law of one of the men, but I missed which one because while she was talking a regular guest came up to the night window. I made a pathetic agonized expression and mouthed an apology because the woman was already on my last nerve and we weren't even done yet. The guest laughed and gave me a thumbs up before mouthing he wasn't in a rush. Anyway, so the lady is asking if the hotel had been cleaned up since the new owner took over. It had. Once again, the conversation was all me attempting to answer her questions and being cut off so she could talk some more. Finally, we got to the crux of what she actually wanted, reward points for the guy staying in the room. There's a problem though. Points go to the person who paid unless they say otherwise, and no otherwise was said at check-in. She argued with me that this was our mistake. I told her no, the man who paid for the room didn't give us a reward number for the man and didn't even bring up the topic of reward points. I was standing right there when it all happened. Well, she didn't like that. So she decided she wanted to talk to the guest to get his reward number so she could give it to me, and asked to be connected to his room. Responsible hotels will require that a caller know both a guest's name and room number to connect them to a room. And we are a responsible hotel. In fact, normally I would not have even confirmed a guest was staying at the hotel, but it was already incredibly clear she knew he was here. Unfortunately for her, she is also very rude. So when she did not know what room he was in, I declined to bend policy for her. She argued and fought, but I stuck to the rules and told her that for guest privacy and security we do not connect callers to their room unless we've been told to connect a call, or they have the guest's info that we require. At this point, she started getting nasty with me, saying the only reason the other man even paid was that we have a rule that a guest must have a credit card or debit card to check in and the man staying didn't have one. She thought the rule was stupid because you can just go to Walmart and buy a prepaid card. No, I told her, we don't take those cards either, partially for that reason. She yelled at me, saying we are bad at business and that sort of information should be on our website. That information is in fact on our website and I told her as much. Finally, she hung up after wasting 10 minutes of my life I will never get back. When checkout time rolled around, the man actually in the room came down to the desk. He asked for the receipt, no problem, then asked with last night, and a night at an affiliated property last week, how many more points did he need to get a free night? I explained he would not get points for the previous night since it was booked and paid for under someone else's name. He argued that he did sign for it, which he didn't, and paid cash for it while holding a receipt showing the charge to a Visa card. No sir, the only one who can get points is the one booking the room unless they say otherwise. Before I could get the chance to tell him that all we needed was the guy who booked the room to say so and we could change the room to his name and get him the points, he started yelling at me. He said I was cheating him, and that he was going to call Channel 5. He then took a big swig from his can of beer, and threatened me again, saying I'm going to be on the news. As someone who has sat next to a drunk person while they called a news station to tell them about something, I was unconcerned. I told him to have fun with that. He gave me the finger and told me he was going to sit out front and wait for his ride. Okay, no problem, but you're going to have to throw the beer away because of open intoxicants and all that. Normally we don't care when contractors and other workers hang out in the parking lot and drink beer after work and stuff, but 11:30 in the morning standing next to the lobby is another story. He ignored me and went and leaned against the wall. The actual owner overheard this exchange. He doesn't appreciate stupid people, and he especially doesn't appreciate rude people. He went outside, demanded the man throw out his beer, and kicked him off the property. Like I told the lady, the new owner really has cleaned the place up. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Have a great day. Bye bye.